I can see them out there painting. Great stuff. The next question goes to Mr. Adams. On January 1, 2011, the Bush tax cuts expired. What will be the impact to our economy when that happens?
The greatest engine of the free market is capitalism. You cannot tax your way into prosperity. Ask the Romans. When people found out they can tax themselves benefits at the expense of other people, it never ended until the Empire of Rome collapsed upon itself. The greatest nation, other than the United States of America, was the Empire of Rome. Never defeated by external force. It was defeated because of the greed of its own citizens and having the ability to literally tax themselves benefits at the cost of others. So we cannot overlook the past. This system, our forefathers sat down and looked at the history of the world and said, we can do anything. We have a blank slate. We can make a monarchy. We can make we can have a dictatorship. We can do all these other things. And they took the best of all the other nations, and they said, let's come up with a republic. And this republic will be founded under God. It will have great principles, and it will be such that people will be inspired to work and do great things because the incentive is prosperity. And that prosperity is why in 200 years we did something that has never been done on this planet before. And we have a government and we have people in office now who are looking at the country as a socialist country, and they're trying to use a socialist model. And we're going back to, well, if we tax the people enough, we can make everybody equal. And that will never happen. It cannot happen. It's a flawed philosophy, and that's why the Communist Manifesto failed. So the tax cuts are what we need. We need more of them. Not only do we need income tax cuts, we need personal tax cuts, we need payroll tax cuts, and that's the only way this country is going to get back on its feet, because you cannot have, and it is impossible to have, a jobless recovery. It don't exist.
Again, I'll repeat the question for Mr. Buntyn. On January 1st, 2011, the Bush tax cuts expired. What will be the impact on our economy when that occurs?
I think it'll slow the economy. Just as Eddie said, that you can't tax your way out of a recession. We're already taxed enough already. I think someone else has used that acronym before. Our economy is plagued with a disease called bureaucracy and taxation. We've got to reduce the bureaucracy and reduce taxation, and our economy will flourish. That will get us out of the recession. That will lead us to another boom generation. That will lead us to greatness. But increasing taxes is not the way. Thank you.
Mr. Castellano, the question is again, on January 1st, 2011, the Bush tax cuts will expire. What will be the impact on our economy when that occurs?
The corporate tax is going to go to 35%, so that's going to be less money to invest in new machinery, less money to invest in inventories, and less money to invest in people. Whenever the government gets involved with just about anything, they usually ruin it. They ruined the $7.25 minimum wage. What they did was they created a massive unemployment for teenagers. Now they're unemployed at 49%. Black teenagers was 55% unemployed because people just can't afford it. It's not just $7.25. It's the stuff that goes with it, like the workers' compensation. And if somebody's working in a hamburger joint and using hot grease, that's going to be pretty a nice penny. You have unemployment taxes that are going up. So on top of everything else, the federal government, when they take away these taxes, the Bush tax cuts, a lot of things are going to come into play, including health care, which is going to make a big deal. So you're going to see a lot of people that are reluctant right now to bring on anybody. My business has started picking up, and I'm very reluctant to hire anybody because I have to increase my workers' compensation. I have to increase the unemployment compensation, and I'm not sure what the health care is going to affect, how it's going to affect my business. So there's a lot of things going on, and not only is this going to, the corporate taxes, it's also going to affect individuals. Right now you have 47% of households that do not pay any income tax, and many of those get an unearned income tax credit. So how fair is that? It's just, we don't have a fair system of taxation, and when these cuts go away, they're going to make it a lot worse for our economy.
I've got it. I've got it. Bush tax cuts expire. Let me share with you something that you may find surprising. Here's the only thing that I agree with when it comes to the Bush tax cuts expiring, and that is the fact that there was a sunset provision on that legislation. Folks, we could do so much good for this country if every bill that was passed in Congress had a sunset provision. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, it just simply says that at the end of this period of time, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, that we're going to revisit that law and make sure that it still makes sense. Because a law that made sense in the 1940s doesn't make sense in the year 2000. Something that made sense in 2000 may not make sense in 2010. Now, specifically about the Bush tax cuts. If you want to affect the economy, the only thing that Congress can do, according to the Constitution, is affect tax rates. And they have the ability to affect the economy. You raise taxes, in this case you let these tax cuts expire, which is the effect of raising taxes. You affect the economy in a very negative manner. So the three gentlemen just told you. Very simply, all we have to do is look at the historical record. If you look at the tax revenues to the federal treasury, when tax rates go up, revenues go down. Because people find a way to avoid paying the higher tax. It happens every time historically. Don't believe me? Please go check the record. The opposite of that is true as well. When we reduce marginal tax rates, more people are encouraged to pay their taxes that they should be. The other thing is, it encourages growth in the private sector. Businesses will hire more people. That has the natural effect of increasing revenues to the Treasury. So, I like the idea that there's a sunset provision on some piece of legislation. I wish it weren't on this piece of legislation, although, to be fair, I've got to tell you that I probably would have supported a sunset provision, because for me to be constitutionally consistent, if I want a sunset provision on another piece of legislation, I would have to support it here as well. The idea behind that is simply, let's go back and look at it, because here's what we know. We're going to pay for this health care program. The new one was just passed for 4 years before it ever goes into effect. And then for the next 6 years, our deficits and our debt is going to skyrocket. At the end of that time, hopefully, when either myself or one of these three gentlemen go to Washington, we can undo the damage that has been done up to this point. At least we're going to have an opportunity to revisit it.